Hello, 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 and welcome to another Living Room Instagram Artist Chat Tuesday. I'm calling this something different every week, so thank you for understanding. Hello, welcome people, welcome, welcome, welcome. I hope everyone is doing well today, at least here in Oshawa, where we're at. There's been some interesting change in weather. It's gotten kind of nice and chilly all of a sudden. Wow, welcome everybody. It's so great thank you so much for joining us. Hello. I hope you have your cup of coffee or tea with you, ready to kind of sit down and join me in a really interesting chat with an artist I've only recently come to know. Now, during this whole COVID times, connecting with artists, creating with artists virtually, I've really been reaching out and connecting with artists that I was already familiar with. Artists, makers, musicians, creatives in all different capacities. I'm so excited because today, hello. Oh, well, thank you. Yeah, I did something to my hair, folks. Needed to do something. This is my art for this week. This is the first time where another artist in the community, reached out and said, have you heard of this person? And I had not. And who am I talking about? I'm talking about Celeste Humphrey, whose work, as soon as I saw it on Instagram, I fell in love with what they do and the quality of themselves that was coming through their work that they do, the work that they're sharing. And then once I got to know them a little bit better, you suddenly realize that, again, we only get to know one small part of every person through social media. And this creator is a Renaissance person. There's so much that they do. I can't possibly describe it to you in one sentence. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to invite them on to join me in a little chat, and perhaps we can explore and unpack their creativity together and learn a little bit more about them and what they do. So everyone, let's see if I can find, here we go, invite Celeste to join us in this conversation. How do I do this? Now, come on, Mary. You'd think I'd have this by now, folks, huh? Let's see. Oh, there we go. Thank you. So without... Yes, I'd like to. Yes, go live with... Yes, I'm talking. Dear Lord. Okay, so we'll just wait for Celeste to join us and then we can get... Hey!
Hi! Wow, what an introduction.
It was elegant always. I tell you, I'm just, I'm concise, I'm elegant, I'm specific, of all those things. It's so great to see you, and thank you so much for joining us here today.
Thank you for having me. Wow.
This is exciting. I feel like there's so much about for all the ways we love and hate social media and the online virtual world. One thing for me, at least, over time and through the course of the Living Room project, it has helped me connect with people that I might not otherwise have had an opportunity to connect with.
Yeah. And
maybe you're one of those people, because when I saw your work, I was like, how did I not know? Missed it. Now, for those folks out there who might not be familiar with you, could you introduce yourself and explain a little bit about who you are, what you do, what you hope to do?
Sure. So hi, everyone. My name is Celeste. I'm an artist and I focus mostly on photography, but I also draw, paint, sculpt, I play music, I sew, all kinds of things. I like keeping my hands busy. I like being creative, but photography is the one thing I really stuck to because I felt it was the medium that allowed me to best communicate my ideas visually and was just most compatible with the type of work that I wanted to create. So I like doing conceptual photography. I like, telling a story, or sometimes just taking pictures because they're pretty. Sometimes art, you just create something because it looks nice. So yeah, it's the medium I felt just fits me best. So
when did you first know that when did you first discover this about yourself?
When I was about 11 or 12, my parents bought some cameras. We didn't need to at the same time, so I kind of just took one for myself and had a really good time taking pictures of anything and everything. And my parents noticed that I also really, really enjoyed it. And then a couple years later, I asked if I could get a DSLR because this was just a point and shoot. Because I wanted to be more serious, and I was so in love with a lot of the photography I saw on Instagram. So many other artists around my age or a few years older were doing these incredible self-portraits. I was like, wow, I want to do that, and I don't know how, but I knew the first step was getting slightly better equipment.
Yeah.
Uh, so I got a DSLR, and then I didn't know how to use it because suddenly there's all these new settings and everything was automatic before. And yeah, I didn't know what I was doing for a while. And then in high school, I took photography class and actually learned how to use my equipment correctly. And from there, it just blossomed. And I always loved taking pictures and creating images.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just kept going since then. I haven't slowed down.
Now, I would say in your photography, there's a certain aesthetic. There's a definite kind of vibe that comes across. How would you describe your aesthetic?
I like to go for retro inspiration, both in makeup and clothing and lighting. Myself, I do like to wear a lot of vintage or look for it. And the lighting kind of happened just because of what I had available to me. I like using flash and strobe a lot, but I didn't have any. I just bought some yesterday, so that's exciting. But before then, I just had some work lights from my dad's garage, and it's just continuous lighting, and it ended up having a bit of a vintage look to it because it was just plain hard lighting, right?
Is that what they call like directional, just like fully just flooded with light?
Yeah, just continuous lighting or constant lighting. It doesn't have a flash. It's just there all the time, so it casts these hard shadows. You can't really soften it much because you can't have a softbox over it. It's not strong enough. So it ends up having a bit of that vintage feel because so much of it was just these hot lights, right? So
yeah. And there's also, I think when I look at your work too, there's a sense of magic or something noiry that comes through, like a little mystery. Is that part of that process that happens accidentally, or is it intentional?
I think it was accidental.
Yeah.
But I kind of just run with it.
Nice.
I keep developing it. Like I've begun to do things and add things to my technique that kind of blurs images a little more, like the old Hollywood trick of putting Vaseline on the lens. Right? Yeah, well, sort of. They used to put some oily substance, Vaseline, petroleum jelly, whatever, on the rim of a lens to kind of haze the edges wherever there's some really light spots.
Yeah.
Get a nice, soft, blurry, beautiful kind of effect. And some photographers today still do something similar. They'll either do lip balm or even just the grease from their forehead.
Use what you've got.
Yeah, pretty much. So I've been doing some of that, and it's so pretty.
Your work is gorgeous. It is.
Thank you.
It's beautiful to look at. I love it so much. And I love the fact that you're working with what you have. And so instead of, it seems like there's this beautiful combination of contemporary techniques and tools with kind of old school ideas. Like a lot of people the Vaseline thing, that could be something that someone might do in post, but it sounds like you're thinking, no, you know what, this is a part of the process right from the very.
Yeah, that's some old technique there. There's definitely edits you can do to blur things in post, but I like to do things practically first as much as I can. And then post is for things like adjusting colors, whatever. Sometimes I'll fix my hair. I can't always afford to keep a fresh color, so I'll fix this.
So then you know what else I'd love to ask as well, because you work with what you have, you're creative, you're dipping into the older techniques with, the modern equipment. What is it about photography that hooked you, do you think?
I feel like it had something to do with allowing me to spend time with myself in a way that I hadn't really done before. Because, especially with self-portraits, because if you're painting or drawing, you're creating something that's an extension of you, it's separate from you. And then as soon as you put yourself in front of a camera, you're now more involved than before. And it's something that I feel has really taught me a lot about myself and self-love. Because it is such a long process from time to time that after working so hard and so long, I come out of it feeling like, wow, I did that. That's something I'm capable of. And it's something that I put a lot of thought into. And learn new things about myself and my emotions. And yeah, it's something I feel like I've grown from a lot more than I ever thought I could.
And I want to talk more about that, absolutely. But there's this, when you talk about the time that goes into taking a photo, what kind of time are we talking about here? Because I think it's so easy for us to snap a selfie or to, take our phone.
Yeah.
I don't know if people realize what goes into the kind of work that you're doing right now.
Right. So typically it starts from an idea, either inspired by something I've seen or just something dreamt out of an emotion I'm currently feeling. Sometimes I'll do a bit of research for inspiration, and if I have a certain scene in mind, sometimes I'll create a prop to go along with it, whether that's something I wear, something I hold, or whatever. There's been sculptures, things that I've sewn or glued together. Actually, I have an example here with me.
Thank you.
Haven't posted any of the images I've taken, but I sculpted this heart with some air dry clay.
Beautiful.
So yeah, a couple hours goes into that if that's part of it, and then there's doing the makeup and doing my hair, which could be like 1 to 3 hours sometimes, and then setting up the lighting and backdrop and all that if that's involved. And there's a lot of trial and error once you actually do get started, because when you're in front of the camera you can't really see what's going on. If you're the one taking the pictures, easily you can take the picture, see what's not working, adjust it, but then when you're in front of it, you have to just take the picture, go and look at it, see what's wrong, fix it from there every time you take a shot. So sometimes I don't start feeling like I'm actually getting somewhere until I'm like 100 shots in, which is like a bit over an hour of shooting time, because working with what you have and it not being the optimal equipment, and then also not being able to see anything that's going on.
Yeah.
There's a lot of error. And now I have this system where I can actually connect an app on my phone to my camera because it has built-in Wi-Fi. So I can actually see on my phone in real time, like what my camera's seeing. So it's making it so much easier. I can actually see where I am in frame and where I'm going to adjust myself, where the lighting needs to move, and I can also trigger it from my phone. So I don't actually have to move from my spot. But before I had all that, I had an older DSLR that didn't have Wi-Fi capabilities. So I had to plant it there in my tripod, give it a spot to focus on, click the shutter, and run. Which was a terrible tripping hazard because I had these awful work lights everywhere, or these like desk lamps clamped to the door frame, and these wires everywhere. I've got to friggin' hop over to get over to my spot. Sometimes you don't even make it on time. Sometimes you're just a little bit too close to the front, to the back, and it's out of focus anyway, or like mid-blink, and it's a disaster.
Thank you for sharing that, because I love knowing that process that goes into the creation of the art, because I do think it's so easy. We're at the culture, especially, Western culture, we are saturated with images.
Yeah.
And everything looks, it's made to look effortless and easy and perfect and smoothed out and touched up. And we don't see the army of people that can be behind the camera to make those little moments, those Instagrammy moments, as perfect as they might be. This is where, when I talk to you, what I'm seeing is artistry. I'm seeing one person saying, I need to create, I want to create this. I know there's something I need to express about a moment, a feeling, an identity. And you're taking yourself through the whole process, but pretty much like on your own from start to finish, just jumping in. That's extraordinary.
That's what makes it such a personal thing, is that knowing that I put all of myself into that, and I get this final product that says I'm capable of all these really cool things to, create an image I can share with people.
Yeah. Were you always comfortable with looking at yourself?
There was a time when I first started taking self-portraits where I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't have the skill. I was just doing it for fun.
Yeah.
And I didn't really have the critical eye to really judge my work that harshly. Mm-hmm. I was happy with it at the time. And then eventually I started feeling like, oh, it's not that good. Why am I doing this? I don't even know what I'm doing. Mm-hmm. And then I got a little older, into my teens, and I was having all these, puberty, self-consciousness things going on, like not really wanting to look at myself. There aren't really many pictures of me in general from ages 14 to 17, I'd say.
Mm.
Very few, none that I've taken really. It's all like family taking pictures of me. So yeah, for a while I didn't want to look at myself because I was insecure about the way I looked for all kinds of reasons. And then in my photography class in high school, we had a self-portrait assignment, and I went with a really personal idea, using the subject of like my struggles with mental health and whatever. And I really liked taking those images, and it reminded me of what made it so fun to
Mm.
begin with. And it's, yeah, like for years I didn't take any, and I was just taking pictures of things or other people. And then that just kind of triggered it to all come back to me, like, I actually really like doing this. And after having learned more skills, because now I actually knew how to do it and do it well, I was like, maybe I could do this again. So it just started from there.
So it sounds like, and correct me if I'm wrong, so was there something that happened in that process of uh, actually going, it sounds like you went inside. So there's something like you were taking more than just the surface image, the idea of what people see, and you were channeling something else through that image. Was that what helped? Like, what was it in that moment that suddenly brought it alive for you? Yes, technique and materials and know-how, but you were using part of your own story, it sounds like, in a new way.
Yeah. It feels like it was so long ago and my memory gets kind of blurry, but something about it just made me feel acceptance
Mm-hmm.
for myself and things I've gone through, and felt like I was ready to actually, accept it as a part of me and work it into my art instead of ignoring it.
Yeah.
And then it just kind of made accepting myself and other things, like the way I looked, a little easier. Yeah, I don't know, just a whole lot of growth happening at the same time. It's hard to pinpoint.
I can relate only a tiny bit. I'm not, photography isn't necessarily my thing, but the actor part of myself, a lot of time I spend in front of cameras, and it's always easier for me when I'm someone else, when I'm acting or character. I can look at stills of myself and it's different. When it comes to having headshots taken though, for like self promotion, my agent says, oh, you need to get some new ones. I am a mess. I can't do anything. I'm so self-aware, like, because there is a relationship between, like, there's the artist, there's the camera, and the subject. And when it's portraiture, there is a relationship between the camera and the person behind the camera. Somehow, there's a real sense of, at least I find, there's a real sense of intimacy there, and you feel so open in that moment.
Yeah.
I think you have to own yourself somehow. You have to say, okay, this is it. I'm choosing to be here, and for it to really work, don't you?
Yeah, I got to really be honest with myself, for sure. I mean, sometimes I do have work that I feel a little uncomfortable sharing, or that I'm afraid to share because it is something personal, but I just kind of remind myself that other people might not know that looking at it. I can just pretend it's fictional.
Yeah.
They won't know the difference.
Well, that's the artist part too. Like, we're bringing out aspects of ourselves in what we do. It's never the whole thing. It's a piece that we choose to reveal. And that also brings a kind of agency to it, a kind of control. I think once you get to that point, and maybe that's that piece, just thinking of myself, that really struck me. It resonated with me, that period of life where you talk about, you didn't want to have pictures of yourself taken. I think I've had my own experiences with that as well. And I think part of that for me was the sense that I had no control over it, that people would see through me or write or know everything about me. But that's an interesting thing when we're playing with self in art. Like, we get to choose, don't we?
Yeah, I get full control over what people see, how much I want them to know,
Yeah.
things like that, right? That is another really freeing aspect of it, is that I can control everything that goes on. And it's something that's really made me appreciate working with other people and models more as well, because I understand that there is that vulnerability coming from them, and they have to trust me and trust what I'm doing and how I'm presenting them to the world, right? So it's strengthened my relationship with other people that I'm working with too, for that reason, because I am aware of myself as I'm doing it alone, that it can be scary for the model.
So what is it like to shift gears and work with a model? How, like, does much change for you, or do you hear harder? What's it like?
I'm a total clown. I don't know what it is. I can't take myself too seriously for too long. And all of that just spills out when I'm working with other people, because I know they probably feel a little tense, and I do too, because I feel like I need to do a good job. I don't want them to be thinking, oh, what's she doing? You know, I feel like I need to impress. So a lot of times I'm cracking jokes and saying stupid things and trying to make them laugh, and we're both laughing, and then it makes it a lot more fun and makes it go by faster.
Yes. I know that process. I'm always grateful when I'm working with someone like you who can say, okay, let's just try and be human here, and we'll get some fantastic shots. And that's the other thing too, like you referenced before, it's you might choose one or two photos from a set, but what do you do with the other photos? What's your relationship with those images like?
They just sit there on my hard drive. Sometimes you don't get that many out of a shoot. You'll take 100 to 300 pictures, and there's only about 6 that are solid, but you can't, they're not all going to be winners.
Well, and that's the thing with humans as subjects, whether ourselves or like other models or people that we have stepping in, because it's not like a still life that or something that, you're taking a picture of someone who is a living being thing. Oh, I hear someone's just sending you some love there. That's lovely. So we're hearing that.
Oh, miss you, Dan.
And that's like working with human subjects is, I think, another art in itself. That's another skill set that people need to build up, because people are not objects, as much as sometimes we can be made to feel that in certain circumstances. So capturing those precious images from an afternoon of shooting, for example, how does it feel to when you see the shot? Do you have a sense of, oh, this is the one, or is it?
Very rarely. Usually I have to go by elimination, and so exhausting because I'm looking at 300 pictures of like the same or close to the same, especially if they're self-portraits, because I'm trying to go for one very specific shot.
Yeah.
So it's just picking up the tiniest little details, like, oh, that's not quite in focus where I want it to be, or oh, the lighting looks funny on my nose there. Just going through them all, and I'm so tired usually. It's been a long day, and sometimes there's that one shot that's like, ooh, that's a really good one. And typically I'll notice it as I'm shooting, because I can see on my phone, on my live view app. And I'm like, oh, that's a good one. I should try and take somewhere that look like this one, in case this one is not quite exactly in focus or exactly what I want it when I see it full size on my laptop. So
that instant feedback must be super helpful in that.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, it changes everything.
Are there moments where because you do sometimes, there's a dark humor about your art as well, at least the photography part of what you do, which I fell in love with. Are there moments where you have to, like the humor that you have with subjects sometimes, do you have to remind yourself not to take things so seriously, or to choose to go into those more extreme moments?
I can switch between the two. I don't feel like I struggle with how do I say this? I have no problem at all going into the really dark spaces and staying there and being serious about them to really bring it out in my art.
Yeah.
So the people on the outside, it might look like I'm too serious or take myself really seriously all the time, which isn't the case, because in real life, I'm not serious. I love to laugh, and I think that's a really important thing too. And sometimes I will take a really goofy, stupid picture. And I don't mean in my shoots where I'm trying to get a photo done and then I'll just do a silly face. I mean, like, I will set up a shoot for a very ridiculous idea just to make myself laugh, because I think that's a really important thing to do sometimes, is even if you are serious about your art and you're trying to create something from some very deep emotions and coming from an upsetting and vulnerable place, you gotta know when to just when to also let that go and be silly. So I do like to take stupid pictures. I think being able to make other people laugh is a really valuable thing. Even if the only person that's laughing is you, that's still a really big deal. I
think it's essential for, like, there's something, along with all the other skills you've mentioned, having a sense of humor, I think, is an essential thing for any artist, regardless of what form of, like, modality of creative expression you choose. Having that sense of humor somehow, some way, will help you get through, will help you move through life.
It's essential for survival, for sure. You can't be doom and gloom all the time.
No, and I think it's such an excellent compliment to to the darkness, because this is a, like right now we're in a very interesting, dark, intense time. We're dealing with so much. Life itself it can be so incredibly complicated. I think anyone who, artists, I feel more often than not have a stronger connection to that, have a deeper understanding of that. Yeah, can we talk about art and darkness a little bit, and because I feel sometimes that it can scare people,
Yeah.
sometimes see something intense. But again, I think with your work in particular, I notice it's never just one thing. There's always so many different things going on there. But to have an understanding of that darkness so that you can use it as a tool can be really empowering. What is your relationship with that, the darker things, the darker subject matter, I guess?
Yeah. As many people do, I've gone through all kinds of things like depression, anxiety, trauma, whatever. And a lot of people are uncomfortable about it. They try to ignore it the best they can because it doesn't feel good. It never does.
Yeah.
And then a lot of artists feel compelled to do something about it, or at least do something with it. Mm. And that also applies to me. I do like to incorporate it in my photography from time to time with some of the subjects. And I find a lot of the times I don't always understand what's driving me to want to create a certain image. I haven't quite pinned the feeling that I'm feeling. I just know I have this idea and this vision in mind that connects to how I'm feeling in the moment.
Yeah.
And then once I'm in the middle of it, I'm like, oh, that's what this is about. So I think sometimes to face the darkness head on and make art with it can help you understand it better and how it's affecting you and what to do about it. Because a lot of times feelings are so complicated, especially in times like right now where there are so many different things going on that you feel upset, and on any particular day you don't know why, because there's 10 different things to be upset about. So what is it this time,
It's true. Yeah. And that the sense of like, please, like business as usual, continue on. We need to take the moments to let it out somehow, even if we're not quite letting out. I think art has always been, and anyone who's like familiar with the living room, you're probably sick of me saying this by now, but art is one of the, I feel, I'm biased, but one of the best ways to do that, to express it to the art, like let the art hold the hard stuff, and it will help you. It does help you understand, gives you perspective on it, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I like that too, that you're not necessarily, I think there are some artists who might want, or some community members who might want to approach their work like, I need to understand it before I make it. I need to know how it's going to look in the end. Mm-hmm. That can be a very frustrating journey as well, because in that process, one hopes, it sounds like you've made friends with the process, have a certain trust of where your process will take you, so that when those, you're not necessarily thrown by them. Is that accurate to say, do you think?
Yeah. I have this really big issue when it comes with drawing or painting, that I also don't really want to jump into it until I know exactly what I want the final product to be. Yeah. Even if that's not anything to do with darkness or emotions, and it's just some piece based off of whatever, like a movie I liked.
Yeah.
I don't really want to start until I know exactly how I want the composition to look. And then I've learned enough through trial and error that sometimes you just got to go for it. You just got to start and let the art take you to where it needs to go. And you just have to listen to it and yourself and trust yourself, which can be frustrating because you're never sure if it's going to work or not. So I've learned to adapt to that when it comes to portraiture, and just trust that I don't know what it's going to look like yet. I have a vague idea. I'm just going to go with what I've got now and not hold my expectations too high, so I don't get too frustrated if it's not quite right, and then see what becomes of it. So
that's a beautiful thing. Has there ever been a moment where you've created something and you've surprised yourself by how it's looked, whether it's been like, holy shit, I didn't know I had that. Excuse me for swearing, everyone. Like didn't know that was there, or just found this entirely new person in the image that you had no idea was even within you?
I gotta think.
It's okay if there's not. I just
there's probably something. I just gotta Uh, I don't know. I feel like every once in a while I'll do a new portrait and be like, oh, this is my best work. And then I'll do another one a bit later. Oh, this is my best work. I just kind of feel better about it every time for different reasons.
Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of just learn as I go. I'm not sure if I had an aha moment at some point, but I think it's more a slow progress type of thing.
Yeah. That's one of the things that happens too as we move forward as artists, that idea of perfection actually exists. And I think, and when I used to, I believe that everyone is an artist. So I feel like if everyone in their ordinary everyday lives, whatever that might look like, could remember that, if nothing else, that the idea of perfection is a bar that always keeps moving up. If we just follow and pursue what we love and stay true to that process and that curiosity, then, I mean, one of the downsides is that we never really experience what perfection is, because every time we've arrived there, it's already moved on, right? That perfect idea again. Just keep creating and keep creating, take you where it needs to go. Oh. Your characters, do you give names to your portraitures? Like, do you have particular characters? And this might be an actor question from my own brain. Like, hey, I'm going to bring out Sally today, or today, Monica. Like, are there any moments like that?
I don't really think of them as characters because I think of them all as an extension of me.
Fair enough.
I kind of put myself into all of them, even if it is just a recreation of a fictional character that exists from a film or TV series. I still find something about them that I relate to.
Yeah.
Which drove me to wanting to take that portrait in the first place, right? Feeling some connection and wanting to kind of go there and visit what it is about them that I feel resonates with me. So I don't really see them as characters. It's just kind of me in costumes.
That's okay. I love that. Is there any version of you feel is more relevant to perhaps what you're going through right now? Is there any, and maybe you've seen this in how people respond, because we haven't necessarily talked about that. Like, photography is definitely one of those art forms, and as a visual form that is when you share it with people, it also belongs to them to a certain extent, or it's shared with them in any case. Have people been responding to any of the work you've been sharing in any particular way that surprised you?
Well, I'm always surprised when people share any thoughts that are more than just, wow, you look pretty. Because a lot of times that's mainly what I get, which is nice, thank you, but I'm not really sure how many people take me seriously as an artist for that reason, because it's all or mostly self-portraits.
Yeah.
I don't know if people actually see what I'm doing as art and what I want it to be being art, or if they just see it as selfies gone just a little bit further.
That's interesting.
I don't really know how to communicate myself better to get the point across that, I'm trying to do something and I'm not here for compliments, because I feel like a lot of the time that's what I get, to the point where it's almost discouraging when I take pictures of anything else, because I don't want to do just self-portraits all the time. They're a lot of hard work, they're exhausting, and I also have ideas that have nothing to do with me, or at least my face.
Yeah.
I'm going to do different kinds of art and different kinds of photos of other things. And then when I share those other things that, mean a lot to me, so much less attention. And it's like, is anyone here because they like my work, or is it just because of my face,
So that's an interesting thing that could tie into a lot of things. There's kind of the our culture and its kind of drive to turn women into objects, sexualize women to the extent, it's about this image, this thing that belongs to them, and not the message or the meaning or there's no dialogue. It's a comment on something as if it's just that and that alone. And there's also, I wonder how much social media and kind of the culture of selfie, the culture of overshare, that culture has contributed to this, because it sounds like you've grown up with social media being a part of your life.
Yeah.
Have you, that's a whole other art form. And oh, here we go. And if we have, do you think it's because women photographers still tend to be taken less seriously? I have opinions about that. Yeah. What do you think?
I think that could certainly be part of it.
Yeah.
And self-portraiture in general doesn't get as much respect as other kinds of photography, I've noticed. Like, other self-portrait artists I follow do occasionally get the rude comments saying, like, self-portrait isn't real art, or that's not real photography. And they're like,
Wow.
this, I make money off of this. It's my job. So yeah, it's.
And I wonder too, I wonder as well if there's something about the female form, like, that is not taken seriously. We're used for advertising. We're used to sell things. We're used to show off or create boundaries about what things should be like, or, you know, to set these ideals. So when you're playing, when you're like through your work, when you're like, some of the thing, at least as an audience member, I feel is that, you know, I sense there's an energy that's playing with those ideas, that's playing with that idea of, you know, what does someone look like? What does this person look like in this moment? Doesn't matter whether they have, you know, like, you're playing with image all the time in your self-portraiture work. But I wonder if that might be confusing to people. If they're just, we need to just spend some time educating one another around that, or just keep on doing what you're doing because you are educating them through doing that. And
Perhaps I am. I don't know.
I'm rant. I'm not. I hope I'm not usually this ranty. I apologize, Celeste. I apologize. There's a lot of stuff there to unpack, and I think it's encouraging that you're already aware of it. Yes, social media. I wonder if that plays a part as well.
I think it does. I think we're just kind of wired to pay more attention to pictures of people, no matter what they are, what's going on. Photos with people in them always get more likes. It's just statistically been observed. And that's advice that's often given for people trying to grow their following, is photos with people in them typically get more attention. I'm not sure why that is, if it's because on some subconscious level we think that that's what the people posting want from us. Is that they want attention for this, or they want me to notice this? I really don't know what it is, but it's always photos of people, whether that's selfies or group photos or whatever, compared to anything else, always perform better. And I noticed that on my own page too. Photos of me always perform best, which makes me feel like I've trapped myself in this box where now that's all I can do if I want anyone to pay attention to what I'm doing, right?
I might gently challenge that, if I may. I know it's also because I have we chatted earlier, and I have a sense of where you're moving with some of your upcoming projects. I think perhaps I don't know. It'll be interesting to see how people respond, but I wonder if there's a human piece that we like responding to. That's part of the portraiture thing as well, at a really gut level. I think human beings love seeing other human beings. It's like we're hardwired, like from when we're in, respond to that kind of thing. But I would be horrified if you gave up and if you just stuck to that one thing. So don't. That's essentially what I'm saying here. I'm just being really
no plans on giving up anytime soon.
Good. Okay. Because I think that there's an enormous pressure so many people feel, particularly with social media. And we will get to your upcoming project soon, because I'm really excited by this, and I'm so excited for other people to hear about this as well. But there's something about the pressure to perform for our audience that at least I can feel this. And I can be honest with this, with it, like the living room work, as well as, you know, what I do in the acting side of my life. There is this sense of, I need to feed the beast. I need to keep people engaged. And I think anyone who has spent any time focusing on building relationships with people online, sometimes it can tip into that darker place where we feel, I need to keep people happy. I need to keep people entertained. I need to give them what they want. And if I create any rupture, it becomes a comment about ourselves. We begin to interpret it in a way that's maybe not so healthy. At least I've experienced. And I have to be really careful with it and pull back from time to time, so I'm not falling into that trap. Because I mean, it is a relationship. It's not I'm not a servant necessarily to anyone. You know, this is a give and take. So we get to say what we want to do, I suppose. I don't know. That was another. What do you think?
Absolutely. I find myself more anxious about posting now, because I feel like it's a lot of pressure. Part of it is because I haven't really posted much at all this year. I haven't been motivated to work as much. And I'm always afraid now that I'm getting a little more serious about my work, that it won't be received the way I hope it will, or that people will still pay attention to the wrong things. And I saw a tweet recently that really put perfectly into words, is that on social media, being an artist feels like being a shark. If you ever stop making art for 1 second, you die.
Ooh.
Like, us sharks have to keep swimming no matter what. It feels like if I slow down just a little bit with my output, suddenly everyone will forget about me, stop caring, or, you know.
I hear you on that. That piece of yeah, that's intense, but it feels true sometimes. It feels like, what if I lose everyone? What if people don't
Yeah,
anymore? What if, like, all those what if, those questions come up, and maybe part of that's because of where we're at right now, and
maybe.
we only have the ability to connect with one another virtually. But how do you challenge that voice when it comes up? Like, do you have something that you do that helps just ground you, or is it enough just to know that, to be aware of that alone, that this is a strange construct that we've created for ourselves?
Um, I haven't really been able to fully get out of my head about it because it's something that comes up every once in a while, right? And it's hard to fully get rid of that idea of I need to impress.
Yeah.
So I find whenever I just feel anxious about anything in general, I like to move away from whatever it is and move into another creative project. A
Mm.
lot of times that's music. I like to sing. Um, I'll just go sit on my piano, even if it's 3 in the morning, and just play a song and sing to myself. And I don't know, something about it. It's such a mindful type of activity
Mm.
that I suddenly I forget all the stuff that's bothering me, and also the deep breathing required for proper vocal technique is a natural, anxiety deep breathing technique on its own.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't really have better advice for getting out of your head about stuff aside from putting your head somewhere else, I guess.
Yeah.
Whatever that is, keeping yourself busy and doing something productive that makes you feel good about what you're creating. So for me, that's singing and playing music on the piano and whatnot.
Yeah. I think taking the time to reclaim yourself a little bit
Mhm.
might be, and giving yourself time to make art space in your own way, just for the pleasure, the pure whatever experience of
Yeah,
it.
not worrying about who's gonna see it or whatever. Just some personal time doing something creative and whatever, just for you.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not worried about what people think of my singing. No one's hearing it. It's just for me.
I I wanted to, like, when you do that, it kind of shakes things up internally. At least I find, and reminds myself of my boundaries. And it's that I think that shark feeling can sometimes be, I wonder how real it is at the end of the day, or if it's real because we all keep telling one another that it's real. And because I haven't yet experienced people say, Mary, why didn't you post last week, or activities today like you were a few months? No one. I think there's also this sense of, like, the expectations I have of myself,
Yeah.
so much more than what other people might have. I think people might just be excited and happy whenever you post something. And also, we've all got our own stuff too going on
For
right now.
sure.
What is your next project coming up? Do you feel comfortable sharing a little bit about that?
Sure. So
Yeah.
I just announced it the other day. Felt it was time to start posting about it.
Mm-hmm.
So for how long now? I guess for the better part of the last year. Yeah, I think the idea struck me around January or February. I decided I would create a new project based off of some unfinished stuff. Um, I'm not a good poet, but I like to write. um, sorry, the audio cut out. What'd you say?
I said, who says you need to be good? I think there's a lot of artists to be good. I'm going to.
That's maybe I am good and I'm just judging myself. Who knows, right? That's part of it. It's always doubting yourself. But anyway,
I think I'm as guilty as anyone else about that. But artists don't need to be good. You just need to make stuff. Make stuff. Be an artist.
and that's what I'm trying to do with this is ignoring whether it's good or not. I'm just trying to make stuff with it. So half finished poems and bad song lyrics and whatever, just garbage. um, that's been left in notebooks and notes app pages and whatever.
Yeah.
That I didn't take too seriously, but in the moment, it's just this flood of emotions that I felt like I needed to do something with.
Mm-hmm.
Poetry and music is a very visual language by nature. So some of it just started inspiring actual imagery that I thought I could recreate with photography. So I decided to start this new series that I titled, for lack of better words, playing on the fact that I don't know how to finish these pieces because I'm not that good. But crafting these images using objects that have letters or text on them typically, or things that I could add that onto to write out my writing pieces visually and then take a picture of that.
I love this idea.
So a lot of it happens to be food or food label stuff, because a lot of it just happens to have text and words. But I also do have ideas for all kinds of other things. A few shots that I have done already. I've got a fortune cookie one. I've got one with the tag on a bag of tea in a teacup. There's some with those, those beads, those chunky like block beads with letters on them.
Yes, yeah.
Stuff with that. I made one with some rotting bananas that I really like. In high school, I had this art project in an urban art course where we practiced tattooed bananas. And yeah, you just take a banana peel and you poke it with a pin, and then the skin turns brown. So I tattooed some bananas. It's just goofy stuff like that. But yeah, I've got all kinds of other ideas too. Like I want to do one with like a pageant sash, like pageant queens of a sash, like
Yeah.
work that into it with the words on it. Alphabet soup, decorative cakes, or fake tattoos, whatever, all kinds of things like that. So
Yeah. I love that you take
sorry.
Oh no, I'm looking forward to what your this new project. I think it's weird that I'm so excited about something for you, but I love that you're taking because many of us, I mean, I'm guilty of this as well. I have dozens and dozens of journals. I have pages of things that I've started and not finished, thoughts, random bits and pieces that have found themselves doodled into corners or marked books. And I think I love that. What I love about it is that you're revisiting those pieces that aren't necessarily complete, aren't necessarily on their own one thing, and you're transforming them into something else. You're bringing them in like to the other art form, coupling them so that the two things that maybe aren't complete on their own will complete one another. I love that. I'm
so glad you're excited, because I've been really scared, because I shared the announcement the other day with the post, and it got like no attention compared to my self-portraits, because it's not a picture of my face. So that scared me a little. I know at the end of the day, the right people will still show up to support. Not everyone who follows me, of course, is going to actually be here for my work. That's just the nature of things. People follow you for different reasons. But I know for sure that there are people who, care about my art and want to see it, and will be supportive once it comes out. And I just need to stop worrying about it for now and just keep working.
It is such an interesting thing how the relationships we have with our art, with ourselves, with the community members, the people who might participate or appreciate the work that we do, those relationships evolve over time as well, which I sometimes have to remind myself of, like, that's a natural process and that's an expected process. And to see people, it'll be really interesting to see who grows with you and who perhaps stays with those original portraits and it's just like, no, this is stuff for me. That other stuff, not so much. I mean, there's so much we can't control once we release our art into the world. How do you find peace with that? I mean, it sounds like you're thinking about it a lot, and there's concerns that are there. Is there any one thing, like if you had a magic wand, perhaps? Where do you find peace with that? The relationship of releasing things to the world.
I just remember seeing a quote somewhere. I don't remember who said it, but something about when you share your art, don't worry so much about what other people think. Just go make more art.
Yeah.
Sometimes you have to put the phone down and stop checking in on the stats and the numbers and just go work on the next thing, and know that somewhere there's somebody who thinks really highly of you, but is just too shy to say something. Not everyone who's supportive is vocal about it for whatever reason.
Absolutely.
They might not think that it matters to you to hear it. They might be shy. They might think you've already heard it a million times and it doesn't matter what they think. So I just have to remind myself that I'm probably getting more support than I realize, and I just don't see it.
Yeah.
So I can't worry about that too much, and just keep working and keep making the next thing, and just worry about that, and staying true to myself and creating things that make me feel fulfilled. Because at the end of the day, how I feel about it is most important above everything else, right? So I don't know if that's good advice or not.
That's beautiful. I just want to let that sit with everyone. I hope, because that, yeah, that absolutely. Yeah, that's it, isn't it? And stop paying attention to, you know, the likes, the hearts, the algorithms, whatever might be out there. That's not who you are. Who you are is the person who creates things, who communicates. You're awesome.
Thank you. You're so kind.
I'm just, you know, no, I'm not kind. People who know me, but I do get excited. I love, you know, thank you for joining us and being so open and authentic with us today. I really, really appreciated that. And I'm sure, and I'm seeing from the comments and things, there's plenty of other people out there who are listening and hearing what you're saying, and it's resonating with folks. So I really appreciate you taking the time to share that with everyone. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me.
No worries. Any final shout outs or things you'd like to share with people? Anything you want them to know? I know you have an Etsy page, for example.
Yes. I have an Etsy page where I sell jewelry mostly, and I like making bolo ties. I'm working on a restock now, waiting for all the supplies to come in, but I just got a shipment of one of the pieces I've been needing yesterday, so I can get to work now. This one's for sale. It's the only one I've got left for now. It might be another month or longer until I get more, but
grab it while you can, folks.
Yeehaw.
We didn't even get into the strange cowboy-ish thing.
I know.
You know what? Another day. I love it. There's always more to talk about, but Instagram only gives us an hour, so there you go. So you know what? I'm going to share your Etsy page over on our Facebook, so folks can find you and take a visit to your page. And oh, look, and there's so many lovely people. Thank you for everyone for joining us today.
Thanks for tuning in.
Yeah, and thank you so much, Celeste. I'm looking forward to the new project. I can't wait to see it.
Oh, thank you so much. I can't wait to share.
We will. Everyone updated too, but you can follow. Well, here, you know what? I will let you go. I will release you to the world and to your creative. Okay. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. Have a lovely day. Have a lovely week.
You too. Bye.
Bye.
Oh, and there we go. Yeah, Celeste is awesome. Please, you know, follow her on Instagram. We'll share the link for her Etsy page. As always, you know, supporting artists during this time is such an important thing to do. We don't have the same ways, the same opportunities to connect that we might normally have or share our work. So I'm hoping that you're able to take away a little bit from this conversation and learn perhaps what it's like to be an artist, you know, sharing their work through social media. There's so many things to think about. It's definitely helped me understand a little bit more about how I can connect more authentically with the creators I love online. So thank you so much, Celeste, for sharing that. And thank you so much for everyone for joining us today. It's, you know, lovely comments. Thank you. It's been so nice to have you folks here. And until we can connect and create with one another again in person, I definitely look forward to connecting and creating with you here online. Again, we'll be back here next Tuesday with another artist interview. And of course, we're going to be on Facebook tomorrow for a live stream art hangout. So you can join me there and make stuff with me, or just listen to me make and do what you need to do. Just an opportunity to hang out and be with one another. So take care, everybody. Have a wonderful day and a wonderful week. And I'll see you again soon. Bye.